Ibanga Edem was the envy of Lagos. He was the CEO of Edem Enterprises and Conglomerate, a successful, wealthy young man who was engaged to the stunning Adesua, a woman of impeccable social standing. But behind his polished exterior, Ibanga felt trapped in a life that was not his own. His days were filled with business meetings, events, and dinners with people who admired him for his wealth, not for who he truly was. He was always surrounded by people who said yes to him all the time and loved him because of his wealth and status. One night, after a long and exhausting day, Ibanga decided to stay late at the office to avoid returning home to the stifling expectations of his family and fiancé. He left his executive office at the top floor and came down to the lower staff employee office and sat in one of the empty chairs. He found peace in the quiet of his empty office, away from the demands of his world. As he sat there, going through the documents with no real interest, the door creaked open. A young woman, a cleaner for the company, tired from a long day, entered with a cleaning cart. She was startled to see him still there. Ibanga was dressed in a casual native outfit. He did not look anything like a CEO. He was tired and worn out. He looked like a normal struggling employee. "Sorry, sir," Mfoniso said. "I did not realize anyone was still here," she said quickly, almost embarrassed to have interrupted him. Ibanga looked up, intrigued by her presence. "It's fine. Go ahead," he said calmly, watching her with curiosity. As Mfoniso cleaned the office, she glanced at Ibanga and noticed how tired he looked. "Why are you still here?" she asked bluntly, her tiredness making her bolder than usual. "You should go home and sleep. If the old street company owner catches you sleeping at work tomorrow, you'll be fired. I've heard ruthless things about him." Ibanga laughed softly, amused by her frankness. "Do you really think the owner is like that?" he asked. Mfoniso nodded seriously. "Yes, I've heard stories. Snobbish, strict, and heartless. So you better rest before he fires you and you end up jobless." Mfoniso had no idea that the very man she was warning was the owner himself. Ibanga, intrigued by her honesty, let her continue without revealing his identity. As Mfoniso finished cleaning, they exchanged a few more words, but the encounter left a lasting impression on Ibanga. For the very first time in a long while, Ibanga felt a connection with someone who was not interested in his wealth or power. The next night, Ibanga sat at the same place, pretending to work while waiting and hoping Mfoniso showed up. She opened the door and walked in. "You again? Why are you here at night?" Mfoniso asked. "I should be asking you that," Ibanga said. "I have never seen you until last night." "Oh, I work nights here. I work only on the lower staff area. I'm not allowed to go up to the top floor. That's why a lot of people don't see me or know me. But you need to go home so you don't get fired when you're tired tomorrow," Mfoniso told the man. She was very worried for him. Ibanga enjoyed Mfoniso's company. She would tell him stories and made him laugh a lot while she worked. Ibanga looked forward to seeing her every evening. She made him feel like he had no problem in the world. He felt genuine peace and connection and love from her. He had never felt like this in his life. While Ibanga lived a life of luxury, Mfoniso was struggling to survive. A single mother with no stable home, she had been living with a distant friend, but that arrangement was becoming unbearable. Her friend had informed Mfoniso that she and her daughter Idara had a few months to move out because she was relocating and moving out of town. Desperate to provide for her daughter, Mfoniso worked 2 jobs. During the day, she sold food at a small restaurant, and at night, she cleaned offices at Edem Enterprises. With no one to watch over Idara some nights, she often brought her daughter to work and would hide her in the storage room where she could sleep while Mfoniso worked. The next day, Ibanga found himself lingering at the office again, hoping to see Mfoniso. When she entered to clean, she seemed surprised to see him waiting. They exchanged a few polite words, but soon Those words grew into deeper conversations. One night, after a particularly rough shift, Mfoniso found herself pouring her heart out to Ibanga. She told him how she had been evicted from her apartment after her husband died, how she had slept in abandoned buildings with her daughter, and how hopeless her life felt until she moved in with her distant friend. Ibanga realized how sheltered his life had been and how disconnected he was from the world around him. His connection with Mfoniso grew. He was so intrigued by the fact that he had never met someone who did not know he was a wealthy CEO. For the first time in his life, someone liked him and talked to him without knowing his status. As Ibanga stayed late again, something unexpected happened. As he walked towards the company's storage room, he could hear some voices from the storage room. He cautiously approached the room to check it out. What he saw was shocking to him. He saw a little girl sleeping on the floor of the storage room. Idara, the little girl who was singing herself to sleep, was startled to see someone standing in the middle of the small storage room. As her innocent eyes looked up to him, Ibanga said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" "I am Idara. I come here with my mom sometimes," she said, her voice small but clear. "What do you mean? Do you come here most nights?" Idara nodded, her innocent face betraying the heavy truth. "Sometimes. We don't have our own house. We live with my mom's friend. So my mom brings me here to sleep sometimes when she works." Ibanga was stunned by her words. Before he could ask anything more, Mfoniso appeared in the doorway. Panic written across her face, Mfoniso rushed into the storage, her heart pounding. Seeing Idara talking to Ibanga, she grabbed her daughter's hand and pulled her close. "I told you not to talk to strangers," she whispered harshly, her fear evident. "Mom, I was just singing," Idara said softly, not understanding the seriousness of the situation. Mfoniso turned to Ibanga, her voice shaking. "Please, sir, whatever she told you, I beg you, don't tell anyone. If the manager finds out, I will lose my job. And if the rich snobbish owner hears this, he might sue me. And I cannot afford to lose this job, please. We don't have anywhere else to go, please, sir." Her desperation was palpable, and Ibanga could see the fear in her eyes. He hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of her plea. "I won't tell anyone," Ibanga finally said, his voice calm but filled with empathy. "But you cannot keep hiding her in the storage room. It's not safe. Bring her to me, and I'll watch over her while you work." Mfoniso was taken aback by his kindness. She had expected anger, maybe even a reprimand. But instead, this man, whom she believed was just a regular employee, was offering to help. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded, unable to find the words to thank him. From that night onward, Mfoniso brought Idara to the general office where she believed was Ibanga's office. The little girl would color or sleep in a corner while Ibanga worked late into the night. Slowly, a bond began to form between the three of them, though Mfoniso still had no idea who Ibanga truly was. Mfoniso finally asked Ibanga, "So what do you do here anyway?" Ibanga smiled, but did not answer right away. "I guess you could say I'm a bit higher in the company." Mfoniso laughed, thinking he was joking. "You? Higher up? Please. You look too average and too normal to be one of the managers." Ibanga laughed. "Really?" he said. "Okay, let's just say I have more responsibility than you think." And they left it at that. The next day, Mfoniso arrived at work to find the entire office in a frenzy. All the department managers were preparing to brief the CEO. Mfoniso felt a mix of excitement and nerves. After all, she had heard so much about this strict, snobbish, wrinkled old man, but she had never seen him, so she was really excited to see him for the first time. As she cleaned the lobby, she noticed Ibanga walking down the hall, dressed in a very sharp suit. He walked and talked strongly with a very commanding and fierce presence. A whole group of managers followed him and they took turns to brief him about their progress. Her heart skipped a bit and she looked again. Something was not adding up. Is that Ibanga? No, it cannot be. It did not take long before Mfoniso could piece together that Ibanga was not just another employee. He was the owner of the company, the very man she had warned him about. Her heart sank. How could she have been so blind? The man she had trusted, the man she shared her most personal struggles with, had been lying to her all along. She felt foolish and betrayed. Ibanga did not notice that Mfoniso had seen him. The following night, when Mfoniso saw Ibanga in the office, sitting and waiting for her, she could barely look at him. The weight of the truth was too much to bear. "Hello, sir," she greeted him and walked right past to get the trash can. Ibanga knew something was wrong because Mfoniso was not as chatty as she usually is. "Mfoniso, are you doing okay?" Ibanga asked. Mfoniso put down the trash can and walked towards Ibanga. "You're the owner, are you not?" she asked quietly, her voice trembling. Ibanga sighed, knowing the moment he had dreaded had come. "Yes, I am." Mfoniso's eyes filled with tears. "All this time, I thought you were just like me, but you're not." Ibanga reached out to hold her, but she pulled away. Ibanga begged her, "Please, Mfoniso, I did not tell you because I did not want you to treat me differently like everyone else does." Mfoniso shook her head. She was hurt and confused. "But you lied. You let me believe we were the same. How can I trust you now?" she complained. She left the office that night, her heart heavy with disappointment, and from that night, Mfoniso avoided Ibanga as much as possible. Ibanga was devastated by Mfoniso's reaction, but he knew he could not blame her. The next few days were difficult for him. Without Mfoniso and Idara around, the office felt cold and empty. He missed their conversations, their laughter, and the sense of purpose they brought into his life. As much as she wanted to forgive him, she could not shake the feeling that they lived in two completely different worlds. At home, things were becoming more strained with her distant friend. She was growing tired of having Mfoniso and Idara stay with her. The pressure was mounting and she wanted them out of her house. Meanwhile, at home, Ibanga's personal life was crumbling. Adeswa had noticed the growing distance between them and was furious when she discovered his connection to Mfoniso. One evening, Adeswa confronted him. "Who is that woman?" Adeswa demanded, her voice filled with anger. "You've been spending all your time with her. Are you throwing away everything we've built for a low-class, wretched, gold-digging woman?" "It's not about her," Ibanga said calmly. "It's about me. I'm tired of living a life that is not mine. Mfoniso showed me what it means to live with purpose, not just privilege." Adeswa was livid. "You're going to regret this, Ibanga. You're throwing away everything for someone who does not belong in our world." With that, she stormed out, leaving Ibanga to deal with the consequences of his decision. The fallout from Ibanga's confrontation with Adeswa was immediate. His family was outraged, and the company's board was concerned about his image. But Ibanga did not care. He knew he could not go back to his old life. The more time he spent with Mfoniso and Idara, the more he realized how much he cared for them. Mfoniso, on the other hand, she struggled with her feelings. She knew she had no place in Ibanga's world. She was just a cleaner, a single mother with nothing to offer him. But the kindness Ibanga had shown her, the way he looked out for Idara, had touched her deeply. Ibanga decided to track Mfoniso down. He found her staying at her friend's small apartment, looking more tired and more worn out than ever. When he knocked on the door, Mfoniso was surprised to see him. "Mfoniso, I'm sorry I did not tell you the truth." But Mfoniso was so conflicted. He looked at him and said, "I cannot accept your help out of pity, Ibanga. I have been taking care of myself and my daughter all my life. I don't want you to feel like you saved me." Ibanga smiled softly. I'm not saving you, Mfoniso. I'm just giving you a chance to live the life you deserve. You and Idara deserve so much more than what you have been through. Ibanga stepped closer, his eyes filled with determination. Mfoniso was speechless. For so long she had believed that someone like Ibanga could not possibly care about someone like her. But his words were sincere. After much consideration, she agreed to give Ibanga a second chance. Ibanga immediately set to work, making things better for Mfoniso and Idara. She found them a comfortable house and helped Mfoniso secure a better job at his friend's company, one that allowed her to work regular hours and be with her daughter at night. Idara was enrolled in a better school. For the first time in a long while, Mfoniso felt a sense of security and hope for the future. Idara was so happy in their new home. She no longer had to sleep in a storage room or worry about where her next meal would come from. She started a new school and quickly adjusted to her new life. Together, Ibanga, Mfoniso and Idara built a new life. Their love, born out of kindness and compassion, grew stronger every day. Ibanga's decision to choose love over expectations changed everything. He kept working as the CEO of his company. Mfoniso, who was once a homeless cleaner, found herself in a life she never imagined. A life where she was valued not just for her hard work, but for who she was. And they all lived happily ever after. If you found this story interesting, click on the link to watch more interesting stories. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next story. Bye.